Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the pre-match build-up here on the Rangers Rabble. It's just myself and Stu tonight. Stu, how are you?
Sort of dying a little bit from this flu, but just about surviving. So Rangers will cheer me up, hopefully.
Thank God, because it would have been me myself tonight if you hadn't put yourself in your sick bed, and nobody wants to see that. I have just ate pizza right enough and it's stuck in all my teeth. But anyway, we're here to talk about Rangers versus Motherwell. I will put the team along the bottom of the screen just now. So yeah, welcome everybody on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Hello to everybody in the comments. YouTube comments, as ever, are flying. So thank you for joining us. Welcome along. If you enjoy the show, give it a wee like. Give it a subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. We are dancing towards 10,000 subscribers. And we are just literally a couple short of 200 members as well. So if you fancy becoming a member and helping to support the show, you can as well. Stu, jumping straight into it, because we don't have long to go until kickoff. The main news, the main talking point, everybody's excited. I'm happy. I'm sure you're happy.
Alex Lowry is back. Oh, Lowry, yeah. Lowry is... I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. I thought at first we'd sort of see minutes off the bench for Lowry, but just shows that Bill does trust him. He said a few things recently that made us think that he was close, and then he didn't even get on the pitch, so we were a bit worried. But yeah, he's obviously been trusted to play today, and it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, because obviously we've got sort of this two-sitting thing that we seem to do with Lundstrom and Jack. So it's going to be interesting to see how Lowry sort of. I'm hoping it's going to be a sort of interchanging thing that we've seen in these games under Bill, where Kent, Tillman, and have seemed to sort of switch position, even with the number 10 as well. So we know Lowry can sort of play out on the left. He can play as the number 10. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But just, yeah, really excited. I think it's another sort of sign as well with the strength of the bench now. Just exciting. I keep getting full of excitement with this team, even though there's surgery needed still. We know this in January, but just the more players that are now starting to come back, is, I don't know, just a bit of a different feel now for the whole club.
Yeah, there is. John, channel member there, tuned in and waiting for the game here in Seattle. I wish I was in Seattle. Scotland is so glum and boring right now. See this between Christmas and New Year period for me. It's just so strange, absolutely so strange. But yeah, going on that point you're talking about, I would imagine, and I'm guessing, Stu, that, well, I'm 99.9% sure it's going to be Kent on the left, Tillman on the right, Lowry in the middle.
Yeah, I imagine that's what it's going to start as anyway. Like I said, just from what I've noticed, Kent seems to have a free role. There was a graphic up recently about the passes Kent receives under Gio and what he receives under Bill. And under Gio, it was very much hugging the left touchline. He receives the ball, and since he's played under Bill, he receives it all over the pitch, but mainly sort of more in that number 10 role, sometimes on the right. So I think they will interchange. And I think that suits Tillman as well, because we saw that Tillman wasn't that effective out on the right when Gio just stuck him out there. But if he's given license to change positions and swap with, whether that's Lowry, whether that's Kent, it just changes the whole dynamic of the team, really, and keeps the opponent guessing. They can't double up on Kent all the time if he's not in the same place. And same goes to Tillman. And we also saw against Aberdeen just how effective he can actually be out on the right, because it was outrageous to even get that ball across for the winner in that one. So he could definitely do a job out there. Yeah, it can be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't that, but that's I'm with you. I think that's what it will be.
If it is Tillman on the right, though, you don't want him isolated again, because he fades out the game, I think, quite a lot on that right-hand side. But he's much, much better and much more influential through the middle. For all you kind of older people out there, when I say older, I'm talking about people in their 30s, will understand this joke. It's a terrible joke, right? But Gallant's asking, is he sleepless? Referring to John, who lives in Seattle. So if you understand that joke, then fair play. But Gallant, mate, that's poor. That's really, really poor. George is Australia. Good for you, George. That's nice. I'm happy for you. £5 super chat, Grant McRoberts. Thank you very much, Grant. Appreciate it. Barisic must have nudes on Beale. I think it might be his dad. How he walks into the team is beyond me, and how has Sakala been dropped? Not happy with that lineup at all. All right, Stu. Well, let's jump through that. I kind of wanted to focus a bit more on Lowry as well because that's what everybody's talking about. But somebody has brought up Barisic back in, Devine out. I think you could kind of tell that from the press conference, the way that the manager was speaking, basically along the lines of, look, Devine isn't a left back, but he can be used to cover there. I think that told you that Barisic was going to be starting.
Yeah. This is a tough one because Devine hasn't really done anything wrong. And I think he just in 3 games, he's really grown in confidence. And what Bill alluded to, which I thought was bang on, was seeing that confidence that he's showing attacking on the left now is great for the future of what he can do on the right-hand side, because when he's going to be in his natural position, he's going to be so much more dangerous. And when he first come in and he had those few games sort of in for Tav, he just had no confidence to bomb on. But I think that's going to be completely different now when he does get games if Tav's injured or further down the line. In terms of dropping him for Barisic, whilst it is harsh, I think you have to have a natural left back. As good as Devine's done,
So you think the manager was right to bring Barisic back?
I think it's the right decision because, again, it's then tough leaning into the Old Firm because we know that Barisic has obviously thrown in a few goals for the Old Firm, but I just think it's for the balance of the team, it's the right decision to have a natural left-sided player at left back.
Well, that's what M66CBH is saying. I would like to see Devine in the team, yes, but are you not all sick of watching our players play out of position every game? Brilliant to see every player in their natural position. I've got a funny feeling then, M66CBH, that you weren't about during the Walter Smith years because nobody played at the right position under Walter. I'm talking 9 in a row and when he came back, but it worked out for him. So, yeah. I know, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, you've also said in the same breath that Devine hasn't really done anything wrong. Could Devine have done any more, do you think, in an attacking sense, to maybe keep that left-back spot?
No, I don't think he could. As I said, I thought he grew every game. I thought he got better and better, especially going forward. The only thing is, I don't know what his delivery is like on the right-hand side. I haven't seen too much of it, but it is a bit hit and hope on the left. You can tell that he's, I think he's looking for the right things, but he's not a left-footed player, is he? So the little dinks into the box maybe don't always come off. And that's why I'm actually quite excited to see what he can do if he does eventually get a chance on the right, whether that's cup or whatever. The sort of balls we're just seeing his delivery. I think he couldn't have done any more to keep that position. I think he'd done everything he possibly could, bar maybe score a goal, which is unlikely. But yeah, just having that natural, we forget that Barisic has got such a great left foot on him when he wants to, and having that sort of ability on the left hand side is going to be key. And I think we had to put him in now because I think it was a stick on that he was going to start against Celtic, so we had to give him this game to get up to speed, basically.
I know, I kind of agree. And I was going to say to you, well, Devine being there maybe put a bit more pressure on Barisic, kind of up his game, but I don't really think he ever really did, even when Bassey was coming through, even though they kind of moved Bassey into centre back. But on Grant's second point then, Sakala being dropped. People moan about Sakala being dropped, and I completely understand it, but in the same breath, Stu, Sakala's been dropped for Lowry, who we all want to see in the team. So if Lowry coming in obviously means somebody has to be dropped, if not Sakala, who?
No, yeah, this was a difficult one. I thought Sakala deserved this place against Aberdeen, but even I know he scored, and this is the thing with Sakala, he gives you these stats, doesn't he? He just scores goals, I guess, and you can't really argue that. But if you do look at the full picture, he doesn't. Against Aberdeen, I don't think he offered too much apart from that goal. And there's too many times it breaks down with Sakala, which is a big problem. When we played Hibs and we were searching for that equaliser in the first half, we had all that added on time. We had a bit of momentum, and the ball goes out left, and it's just gone straight under Sakala's foot and out for a Hibs throw and takes all the pressure off him. That can happen to anyone, but it happens to Sakala a bit more than most people. I think he's a great squad player. He's a relatively cheap wage, and I think, like a few of our players, which may be a problem, I think it's a good thing to have, but we've got quite a few players now that are very good from the bench. These Scott Wright, Scott Arfield, And Sakala's another one. I think he can come off the bench and he can create things. He just has that madness about him, doesn't he? He doesn't know what he's going to do next, and the opponent doesn't know. He's absolutely electric. He can finish. Like sometimes it will go into Rose Ed, but he can strike a ball as well. So, but again, that's like complete 50-50 whether he's going to or not. So I think it's the right decision. I think Sakala's a great impact player, but we've been crying out for Lowry to come in, and I think out of that front three, Sakala was always going to be the one that drops out because, like you say, Tillman does drift out of games, but again,
Stu, just on that, is there an argument to say, and I'm not making this argument, I'm just putting the point across, that you bring Lowry in and you take Morelos out and you put Sakala through the middle?
No, because Sakala started through the middle the other week and he was awful. Wow, we had this argument in the chat. Was it Mark? I think I had the argument in the chat because he thought Sakala was having a good game against Aberdeen up top, but it was just he was constantly offside. His first touch, the second touch is a tackle basically. It wasn't sticking with him at all. So that was something I wanted to see. And listen, you can't say, well, we have to write that off after one game. He didn't work after one game, so it's never going to work. But I just think that it'll be a waste of time putting Sakala up there now because I don't see the benefit of starting Sakala up top in an Old Firm game like after this one. So I think the team that he's going with tonight is going to be, there's going to be a debate on that Lowry, Sakala, whoever plays out their position, but I think the rest of the team is going to be pretty close to what we see on the 2nd of January.
Yeah, obviously Kemar Roof and Antonio Cholak, the manager, spoke about both of them. Very clever in his terminology, which I like, but very clever in saying, look, we'll see. They could be available for tonight. They aren't. Is that a big blow that we don't have Cholak back?
Yeah, another one. You want to get minutes in these guys, especially with that big game coming up. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I want Cholak back, but I think we're scoring goals. That's the main thing. Obviously, the Ross County game aside, but the Aberdeen and Hibs game shows that the team's got goals in it even without Cholak, which is good. It's great to see, isn't it? Because we're far too reliable.
We need that. You can't just rely on a striker.
So the team have to learn how to get by without Cholak's goals. It's just in an ideal world you have Cholak. And you have a fit Morelos as well, and whether they start together or whether one's coming off the bench, you have two quality strikers in the hopeful realm that we want to live in. But right now, it's obviously Morelos who still looks maybe slightly overweight and not quite there. But again, I think I don't know. I think the
listen. Just on that whole weight thing, the manager spoke about that, and he said that Morelos has always been that shape. He's always been that way. So, the manager was pretty much making the point, well, to me anyway, reading between the lines, I might be completely wrong, but it seemed to me that the manager was making the point that Morelos is fit, Morelos is ready to go.
Yeah, to be honest, it might be like bad memory from me, but I don't know. I remember him at his peak. I just feel like he was a bit leaner. He moved better. He looks. This is the thing. He doesn't always look. He walks out on the pitch. He looks fine, but when he's running for balls, that's when I feel like he looks a bit overweight. That said, he's already. I think he's bought into what Bill's basically brought into the team as well, because what I've noticed with Morelos is probably him and Arfield are the two most tunnel vision players in the box. They'll always shoot if they get a sighted goal, but even Morelos in the box now, you see he looks up for a pass. Like even when he has a shot on, sometimes he will knock the ball to the side for a pass. So he's clearly taken on what the manager's telling him, which is all we can ask really. And if he goes on a free, then he goes on a free. But I think he is trying to win back some of the support. He is trying to put the effort in. It's just like I say, personally to me, he looks a bit overweight. But if Bill doesn't think he is, then he's the manager at the end of the day, and he's the one I trust.
Yeah, and he's the one who picks him as well and puts his job on the line, I suppose. But David's saying Morelos has to perform tonight. Good to see Lowry. Is it a case that he has to perform, or does he just need to score a goal? Does the performance matter for a striker?
I think for Morelos it does. I think for Cholak it doesn't, because he's that penalty, and we've had this conversation with sort of Ross and they're saying about like Cholak actually does do a lot of the dirty work. He can hold the ball up that people don't think he does. But with Morelos, I think that is most of his game. People argue about he doesn't score enough goals, but a lot of Morelos' game is bringing others into play. When we're under the cosh, you can drill a ball up to Morelos and it will stick to him, and he'll hold the defender off where everyone else gets forward. And that's such a big part. So I think Morelos does have to have that bit of a performance in his game. Otherwise, when he scores and he's not having a good game, I think he still gets a bit of stick. Whereas if Cholak scores and he's not having the best game, everyone's just happy that he scored. And plus, he's playing at the end of the day. If he's not going to sign a new contract, he's playing for that move. He wants a big sign-on fee if he's going to go for a free transfer, and he's not going to get that if he's not putting in performances.
No, 100%, 100%. On a much more positive note, not as positive as Lowry maybe, but maybe it is. I don't know. Have you seen who's playing in our defence tonight? We've got 2 actual centre backs playing at centre backs too.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. So the odds on it are going to chuck a goal in tonight now. So, but no, that's great to see. It really is. And obviously we've even got one on the bench as well in Leon King. So even if something bad does happen, we've actually got a backup centre back, which is something I never thought I'd see.
Hold on, what are you talking about on the bench?
Leon King's on the bench, isn't he?
Oh, so we've got 3 centre backs in our squad.
There we go.
That'll never catch on.
It makes a massive difference. I said even when if we're fair, I don't think Hibs score those goals if we have a centre back on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And I think that showed when we brought Davies on that day, and he won about 3 headers straight away. It was the first 3 headers I think we won all game. Just Goldson obviously needs more time. He's looked a bit sort of as you'd expect with so long out. He's a bit rusty, but he's getting better all the time. He hasn't lost any of that confidence. He seems that injury doesn't seem to have put him off going in for anything or marauding forward with the ball like he wants to. It's just that sort of final ball, final pass for goals at the moment. But that'll come. And just having those 2, and especially them both being senior defenders, like sort of, they both know what they're doing. They both marshal defences in their time. So it's just great. And I think you'll see Tab and Barisic will start to have better games because they don't have to worry about that sort of guy next to them so much anymore.
Well, I'm just going to come on to Tav, actually. And I started the build-up a wee bit later tonight because I felt that kind of 45 minutes was a wee bit too long for a build-up. So it's going to be half an hour before the game. So it's quite good because you need to cram everything in. But Davey, channel member, of £5 super chat again. Thank you very much, Davey. Motherwell, I win, a clean sheet and an improved performance. Mark John, 12 from 12. That's exactly what we all want. I really want a good performance. Somebody put it in the comments before we started, and yes, I do read the comments before we start. What was it they put? Well, heads went blank. Can't remember. It'll come back to me. Oh, that's what it was. Just give us a nice, easy 2-3-0 win, and let's not be hanging on the last minute because I don't think any of us can handle that. Stu, do we have to see and I know he was ill. The managers came out and said he was ill. He wasn't full fitness, etc., etc. Do we have to see a good performance for the captain tonight?
Yeah, I think so. He's got to lead by example, and a bit like Morelos in the past, he's been the guy that's sort of carried us through a lot over the years, and he's obviously gone off the boil this season. We were told it's a bit of an injury problem that he played through at the start, and then we've told it's the flu. And honestly, if it was the flu I've had, then I actually do sympathise with him because I don't even know how he's made it onto the pitch. But yeah, he does need a performance, and I'm hoping with Davies and Goldson both back now that he'll have a bit more, I don't know, just confidence in his own game to get bomb on and not worry so much, because I think that does play in the back of your mind, even if it's subconsciously you're worried that you've got 2 centre midfielders playing next to you and they could be in trouble if you're too far up the pitch.
Was there any arguments, Stu, for Devine starting at right back tonight?
There could be, especially after the manager's comments saying that Tav needs to look over his shoulder with what Devine's been doing. Absolutely, with how he's performed on the left hand side. It would have been, like I say, it would have been a big call to take out your captain, and I think it would have been one that everyone would have been fine with because they don't respect the manager if he wants to do that. But like I said, I just think so much of this team and selection it's all centered around the next game more than this game. So I think
you think this team starting will be the team that starts against Celtic, including Lowry?
I think 10 of this team are definitely starting against Celtic, and I think the Lowry one is up for debate depending on maybe how he performs today.
Fair enough. And McGregor in goal, that was always going to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I feel it's a tad unfair, I think, on John, because apart from that Celtic game, right, where he was horrendous, right, but apart from that game, I don't think he's really put a foot wrong. He came back against, was it Ross County? Played really well, made a really crucial save, but McGregor back in as number one.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's so hard to say because when you come in as when a player drops out and someone else comes in and does well, it's always unfair to just take that spot back off him. But I just think it sort of reiterates that we need a number one. We need a proper number one that isn't McGregor and McLaughlin, unfortunately. But it depends what your no, there you go. It depends what you're going for. You know, McGregor can give you those sort of outrageous reaction saves, even at his age, and maybe not so much of his feet. And McLaughlin can help you start attacks and distribute the ball quickly with his feet. He comes for crosses, but he can let a soft goal in. Although so can McGregor.
He's only done that. He's only done that against Celtic. I know that's a big thing, but the only time he's really let us down was that game against Celtic, and it wasn't just him; it was the full team. So, the stick that he's got and the fact that he's barely got back in the team, if everybody was treated the same, then there would be nobody starting again for us.
No, I agree, and I think that's why personally I think the writing's on the wall for him, because I think the mistakes McGregor made last season, and even a couple of the ones he's probably made this season.
Can I just say, sorry, Sharpie, the whole team shat it against Celtic, not just McLaughlin.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, so I think that's why the writing's on the wall for John McLaughlin. I think McGregor coming back in after the sort of mistakes he made last season. McLaughlin started the season as number one, and like you say, he has that bad game, and then it's McGregor
one bad game.
Yeah, and then it's McGregor, and then McGregor was having a bad game, and it's you get stuck in that loop of you constantly swapping goalkeepers, which you can't do. McGregor hasn't. I was going to say he hasn't really done anything wrong. You could argue he could maybe actually get both of those Aberdeen goals as spectacular as they both looked. But yeah, I just think he's already thinking everything is going to go towards that next game against that lot, and I think Bill feels more comfortable that McGregor will be number one for that game.
Yeah. Okay, just finishing up then, because there's 5 minutes until kickoff. The last 5 games against Motherwell has been 3 wins and 2 draws. Unfortunately, there's no Cedric Itten on the bench, but you don't see any issues tonight, do you, Stu?
I'm hoping not. No, if you can get through their sort of hatchet men, then yeah, I think we'll be fine. I think as long as we get an early goal, just settle the team, and yeah, I think we'll be fine. I just want to see us go 2 and 3. Do you know what I mean? Like really quickly, 2-3-0 up, kill the game early. Don't have this going 1-0 or 0-0 late into the second half, because it's just not good for the ticker. So yeah, I think as long as we've got the players, they're starting to get confidence. So yeah, no problems for me. Touch wood though, because I know that's sort of writing on the wall, otherwise.
Prediction?
4-0 Rangers.
Oh yes. Who's scoring first? Please say Lowry.
Do you know what? We're going to go Alex Lowry. Let's do it. I think he does. He likes a shot, Lowry. So I'm going to go Lowry.
Right, we've got 1.5 minutes left. So, is there anything from Motherwell, Stu, that would worry you or concern you, player-wise, manager-wise? Is there anything that basically you think that they can hurt us with?
Only that they just tend to jammy these little results against us every now and then. That's what I'm saying. I think the way they hurt us is if they A, score first and sit in, and we struggle to break it down, or B, we're 0-0/1-0 going late into the game. I think if we play the way we're going to play, and we should play under Bill, and we're also saying that, you know, we want to start seeing performances. That Bill said that himself. You know, we've got to start showing performances to match the results. Then ideally, no, there's not going to be any problems.
Nah. Listen, I said I agreed the last time, and we scored 2 goals in the 94th and then 96th minute. So I'm saying absolutely nothing. Listen, thank you to everyone who's tuned in. If you enjoy the show, if you like it, give us a like on YouTube, give us a wee like on Facebook, and a share on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, a follow on Twitter, a retweet on Twitter, all that good stuff. All the links are in the description. If you want to become a member on YouTube, you can. All the links are in the description, etc., etc. We'll be back around 9:50. Obviously, just depending on how long the game goes, etc. If there's any added on time or whatever. But we'll be back around 9:50. So I hope you all enjoy the game. Thank you for tuning in, and we shall see you on the reaction in a couple of hours.